Hello, it's Tamara Hunter, and today is day number 177 of 365 Days of Awesome. Celebrate success through service. And I love this show because, we have interaction going on. It's Facebook Live and it's social media. And one of our service heroes, Dr. Marlena, actually nominated today's service hero. And so she said, she's actually been talking to me a couple times, and she said, Tamara, you need to check this person out. So when I started doing some research, I immediately got a hold of her. I'm like, oh my golly, we need to talk. So, and I already see we've got some comments coming in, but let's do this. Let's Cheryl, welcome. Cheryl Meyer is today's service hero. I mentioned Marlena's name, Dr. Marlena, but service hero number 177, Cheryl Meyer, welcome.
Proud to be here. Thank you.
I absolutely adore you already. Can I just say that on the record, guys, because she and I visited for a few moments before we went live, and I'm hearing feedback. So bear with us. It most likely will even out. But we started visiting, and this woman is as passionate, if not more, than I am, and so that says a lot. And let's talk about what you are passionate about. There's a few clues. I've given them already, but why don't you tell us about yourself and your passion?
Okay, let me start a little bit back with my story. For the last 20 years, I've had my own business. I was an entrepreneur. And so, yes, I worked 24/7. And I had signs that I had toxic load building and then illness was coming. And they sort of flipped past me, and I did not tune in and pay attention to them. First, it was my mascara bothered me. Then my underarm deodorant either made me blister or it made me rash. Then all fragrance started bothering me. Actually, I went out on a date with a guy, and I got halfway down the street and said, take me home. I couldn't breathe. He had so much cologne on. But what I didn't know was that those were all signs of toxic load. Then I woke up one morning and my lips and my tongue and my eyes were all swollen shut. And by backtracking, I figured out that was fabric softener. So that was pretty scary. So now it had my attention. And then about a month later, I woke up and I literally couldn't get out of bed because everything in my body hurt. So I went to my conventional doctor, and she ran some tests, and I went again, and she ran some tests, and I went again, and she ran some tests. And finally she called me and said, there's nothing wrong with you. You need to seek therapy. And I said, that's ludicrous because I hurt. So obviously there is something wrong with me. So I turned my business over to my staff and I started researching. And I was lucky because I tripped into the functional community. And at the time they were running all different symposiums on all different health programs. And so I listened to 20 of them that were like 20 chapters each with people speaking. And it kept coming back to leaky gut, and that toxins were one of the big things I could clean out of my life to heal my leaky gut. What the heck is leaky gut? And that I could start to learn to control my stress. Now, I will start with stress because I always thought stress was a good thing. It made me run faster and work harder and be more successful. But being chased by a tiger 24/7 is not a good thing. And although my cortisol was not low enough to be to Addison's disease, so my doctor was like, what's to do? You're not really sick. It was so low that I had severe chronic fatigue. So I started with stress, and then I started researching toxins. There were hundreds of things in my life that were toxic. And I was appalled. I had no idea. Starting with my cosmetics, which were a very expensive French cosmetic, that was a 9 on a 10-point scale. And your skin is your largest organ.
Okay, so let's ask. I want to dive into that scale. We're having a little bit of feedback, so we'll just work through it though. On the scale, what is the scale? Tell us about the scale so we can get an idea of what you're saying.
There's an incredible company online. You can research everything in your life. It's not an easy database to get into and research, but it's all there. And it's called EWG, or the Environmental Working Group. They have different sections on their website. I actually support them financially because they were a lifesaver. They're the ones who put out the Dirty Dozen Clean 15, if you've ever heard of that, which is what you eat organic, period, if it's on the dirty side, because there's 18 items that have hundreds, maybe, toxins. A potato has 47 toxins on it. So if it's on that side, you definitely buy it organic. And then there's a Clean 15 where it doesn't matter. They have done a whole database on cosmetics, which is not regulated at all. So you need to know what's in your products because they're poisoning us. There's a whole database on what you cook your food on and what you store your food in. And there's a whole entire database on water. I thought that Flint, Michigan was an unusual situation. There are all kinds of cities in America that have water almost as bad as Flint, and we all have horrific toxins coming through our water faucet. So, and I don't drink water out of plastic ever again. I use stainless steel bottles, and we put a whole house system on to get clean water out of all of our taps. Because when we first did it was only the kitchen, and I take baths every night. So I didn't want it going through my skin. But there's a database for all of that on there, for canned goods and what BPA is and why it's so important that you get canned goods that are have BPA on them. That, like, Sprouts is all BPA free. And BPA,
okay, BPA, let's kind of realize that there's a lot of people here that may not know all of this. So what is BPA?
BPA is the lining on the inside of a can that is an endocrine disruptor. So you've probably noticed that our little girls are maturing at a much younger age. And that's because of endocrine disruptors. And there's all kinds of them. But BPA is one of them. And it's also hindering little boys' sperm, so that they think that sperm will be dramatically lowered by 2025 because all of these chemicals in our life. I mean, the more you read about this, you start to go gray. And it's overwhelming in the beginning. But I found a functional doctor of my own. It took some research. There's actually a database where you can find a functional doctor, which is ifm.org. Put in your zip code.
Is it a functional doctor?
And I'll explain what that is. But you can go on there, put in your zip code, and it'll tell you who's in your area. My doctor is a Yale graduate. She graduated from Yale Medical School. But most functional doctors got sick and could not help themselves. So they got additional certification in functional medicine. And the difference is, number one, they do totally different tests than conventional medicine, but they look at the entire body. They don't just look at one body system. And they don't listen for the first thing that comes out of your mouth and throw a pill at it. They want to find out what the root cause of that is. So they look at your body from totally different lenses. So I'll give you an example. Okay. My conventional doctor tested me for allergies. The only thing I was allergic to was the tape that held the allergy on my back. My functional doctor tested me for sensitivities. I have 18 of them that when I eat them, I get all kinds of inflammation. So by eliminating those 18 foods, I lowered my inflammation dramatically. Now, the difference between an allergy and a sensitivity. An allergy is like peanuts. You eat it, you could react, and you actually could die. A lot of conventional doctors don't even believe that sensitivities exist, because what happens when you eat it is it starts a slow burn. And what is inflammation? It's a slow burn. So I was right that I had something called leaky gut. So I've spent a lot of time healing my gut. But one of the things that was causing my leaky gut, hello, Sharon. One of the things that was causing my leaky gut were my sensitivities. So by eliminating those, that was the first step in me healing my gut. My conventional doctor tested my thyroid, and from here to here, my thyroid was perfect. From here to my adrenals, it was completely broken. So they run different tests, and they're not so quick to give you a pharmaceutical. A lot of the things that I'm doing with my functional doctor are herbal or compounded, like the thyroid medication I'm on is from wild yam. It's a compounded medicine, and I'd much rather be on more natural things than to be taking all these pharmaceuticals. So
Right.
I did really have autoimmune disease. Sorry, conventional doctor, you were wrong. And there are now 140 recognized autoimmune diseases, and mine is called undefined because I tease that I'm like a Chinese food menu. I have a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B and a little bit from column C. So I don't have a name, but current functional medicine belief is it doesn't matter what the name is. In the beginning, you start by healing your gut, and that will start to heal your disease. So that's where we started. Now, if you have MS or lupus or one of the more complicated autoimmune diseases, that's where you start, but then it gets more complicated. So I'm not a doctor, but we all need to start with healing our gut because that's the first step back to health. And I started all of this 6 years ago. I feel better today, and I turned 70 in 5 days, than I did in my 50s. I have incredible energy. I went back to school, as I told you, at 67, so that I can go out now and talk to people about what I found, so that when they're told that they need, they're crazy, they have a manual they can go to that will help them regain their health. And although I will always have autoimmune disease, and I am actually currently in what's called a flare, which means I gained 7 pounds overnight 2 days ago and it hasn't gone down yet, I don't have pain anymore. And that's huge. So
yes, there's many of us, especially like my chemo buddy, that deal with autoimmune because it's not uncommon, and we'll talk about this. It's not uncommon for people that have had cancer, and many times, and I even have some of you're going to bring up, many times the patient and those people that love and support them are our buddies. And right. You actually have a post, and I'm bringing it up right now, that I thought, oh, how perfect this, because disease runs in the family because eating habits run in the family. And that makes so much sense, because in listening to you, researching you, listening to what it is that you're sharing so passionately, you're saying you woke up after having you still have your business that is unrelated to the food industry. It's jewelry, right? You're involved
Right. I've designed jewelry for the last 25 years, and I manufacture in China, and then I sell big customers here in the United States. It's not as big as it was because when I got autoimmune disease, I backed off, but I still have it.
Right. You have so you're an entrepreneur, you successful international, working with big name companies, your company working with them, and all of a sudden you're facing a health crisis, and you go to traditional medicine, and they're saying, go seek therapy. And here you're a businesswoman. Let's look here. The facts are there's an issue. And what do you do when you're in business?
Without knowing what was wrong with me. I said, I'm not taking steroids. I'm going to find out what's causing this. She looked at me like I went from Mars.
And compliments to you that you said, there's something going on here. It's real. It's fact. There's a facts. I just have to understand and uncover what they are. So you went to a functional doctor and went through the testing that your functional doctor put you through.
One of the I just had an appointment with her. We were together 45 minutes. My conventional doctor never spent more than 6 minutes with me. She heard the first symptom and she'd had the pill come down the chute and said, this is what you should take. My functional doctor does not do that. And then I research, she researches, we get together, we come up with a joint plan. It's fantastic.
You know, and I'm going to say that reminds me, I worked with an acupuncturist for a while in my, and I love the idea because I'm personally, we all have our personal choices. I personally have sought after adjunctive therapies. You know, I've gone to Western medicine, but I've also gone to, you know, alternate therapies also and see how they can work together. And I've looked for Western doctors that are open to the idea, which surprisingly many of them are. And even I've been able to convince insurance companies to it because they want us healthy and they were going to look for the path of, you know, less money to get a result. Right. That's the bottom line. You have to sometimes do the homework. Well, the thing I learned about my acupuncturist, she actually ran a department because that's a whole department. And she was teaching me that, yes, the body will tell us what is wrong. And there's multiple different ways of finding out what it is. And when she started explaining all of this to me and then backing it up that they've been testing and they've been looking at it in this way for thousands of years, where we've been in the hundreds of years, you know, I sat up, took notice, and started giving a lot of credence to it. And, you know, I noticed a lot of miraculous differences. And so she also, you know, was looking at what is it that looked like I had sensitivities? What did I need to do in my food choices or through teas and through different non-pharmaceutical methods? Because I was on enough other pharmaceutical items. I didn't want to be on so many that, you know, it was like, okay, we're just causing more problems because, you know, a lot of us have been there and done that. And so I started looking at it very differently. Yet I know now that I don't know a lot. Sometimes we get to that point, right? And when I was listening to one of your podcasts, I loved what you said. And where I'm going with this is this very piece here. It's don't be overwhelmed.
No.
Don't be overwhelmed because, and then you went on to say that it took you, what, 5 years to switch out everything?
Toxins.
Right, because we can get so overwhelmed that it becomes paralyzing. And so you took it in a bite-sized way to say, okay, you know, what are the most important things to change right now? The most important things, like what you shared with
each toxic food is one step closer to health because you're lowering your toxic load. And toxic load is what's giving us cancer and giving us autoimmune disease and giving us dementia. Every single toxin you eliminate gets you one step closer to health. And you have to look at it that way.
Right.
And then if you have to eat something that has toxins in it, you don't worry about it because most of the time you're not.
Exactly.
It's lowering the toxic load.
And I want to go back to something that Sharon is actually, I want to introduce Sharon. I always do when she's on. Thank you for being here right now, Sharon. Sharon is actually my senior ambassador for the non that I am the executive director, co-founder of Chemo Buddies for Life. And she takes this role very, very serious. And she is there for all of our buddies, and she is very involved with the Service Heroes program. She is also a mother and grandmother, and her story is that I'm going to start framing it, saying it slightly different, but she's been challenged in her cancer journey. She currently is a shut-in. At some point, we're going to change that, and so that she can't even go in her backyard. She goes everywhere with us because we stream and everything. So she gets to know all of our service heroes, and she's there to help spread messages. And so she's she said here, and I picked up on it, and I'm glad that you mentioned this, Sharon, because the thing about Cheryl, I already kind of know a little bit of the spoiler here, is that this is also a very big piece for you. And this is one of the reasons that in the documents that you sent over to me, and then some of the podcasts that I was able to start listening to, you have now in this short period of time been on over 50 podcasts, radio shows, and then you've been going to summits, you have been going to hospitals, you've been going to anywhere that anybody will listen to you with this message. And this is one of the main reasons, right, is our children.
53% of our children now have some kind of chronic illness. Is that an astonishing statistic? Oh,
say that one more time. Say that one more time.
53% of our children have some kind of chronic illness already. They're even being born with a heavy toxic load because it's coming through the placenta in the mother. So I feel that I have to get this message out there. We depend on it. And people are, I mean, I've had every kind of objection. I don't want to be deprived. Don't you know you're going to die? Yeah, it has nothing to do with that. My husband and I want to be as healthy as we can. And as somebody just put on a podcast, we want to die young. We're going to die, but we don't have to be sick when we get there. We can live a healthy life all the way along. This is my crazy little husband. I was in a toxic relationship when I got sick, and he woke up one morning and said, I don't like it that you're sick. So he went out the door, and it was an angel's hand on my back because I met this wonderful man who supports me in every way in my mission and has become as knowledgeable as I have. He reads different books so that I can get the most important kernels from the things I haven't gotten to yet. He's fantastic. So we've been married 3.5 years now.
And what's his name?
John. And he's a statistician and a computer geek. And
I love it.
He reads constantly. I was a lit major and he was a lit minor. So we have all kinds of synergies to be together. And he was married 43 years and his wife died of cancer. So I wrote an ad that said, I'm looking for someone who wants to go on a get well journey with me. And he wrote and said, I've gained a ton of weight while my wife has been dying from cancer. And I would love to go on a get well journey with you. And he's lost 70 pounds just by eating real food that's organic and eliminating toxins in his diet.
Wow. Okay. I was already like, this is just like the greatest story, but I just got the biggest wave of this is very, very important for people to hear, is that the weight that, you see all these different images, and I don't have one because I didn't know we were going to go here, but that they had the skinny person in there, and then they had the different images of it's bigger, and then that's where the gut is, and all this kind of stuff because of us not making good choices. But when you can actually say the change is that he started eating
real food. And I have a thing, don't count calories, count chemicals. Because that's the key to long-term weight loss. I lost 45 pounds and then stopped because it ended up, I was loaded with heavy toxic metals, which are now gone. Now I'm detoxing off of heavy toxic mold. Next up is going to be getting rid of the herbicides and pesticides in my body. I am loaded with them, including Agent Orange, which is being sprayed on our crops. And I have essential tremor, and we think that that's why. When you read what the food industry is doing to us, it's like unbelievable.
Okay, so let's do this, because all we can do is what we can do right now. So let's go. We've already established the fact that there's issues. And unless we're willing to go out there and start walking on the streets with signs and such things like that, which some people might be because of listening to this, but we can actually do something to turn this around, right? There's good news here.
Stop buying the toxins. The Institute for Responsible Technology, he says that it will only take a 5% shift in buying habits, 5%. And big food, big chemical, all of that will start to take notice. And in the 6 years I have been eliminating toxins from my life, I have seen shifts. When I first started looking for an organic cosmetic, I had one choice. Now there's all kinds of choices. Um, Big Food is starting to buy some of the clean food companies. Not, they don't always keep them clean, but sometimes they
Right.
do. Hormel bought Applegate, which is my clean cold cup company, and he actually wrote into the contract that if they didn't stay with his way of making them, that it would all go back to him. They would lose all their money. So they are maintaining what he started. The shift has begun. But just because it was a healthy brand, if it gets bought by someone, doesn't mean it still is. So you have to learn to read labels. I have a theory that if you can't pronounce it or you don't know what it is, you don't buy it and put it in your mouth. It's that simple. It's a really easy way to shop because all of that stuff are synthetic chemicals that give your body absolutely nothing to live on. Your body needs the nutrition from real food. So all of that processed food, and fast food is even worse, it doesn't give your body anything to use. And the body is really pretty amazing because if you give it the right building blocks, it wants to heal you.
Yes, yes. You know what? Okay, I want to go here because one of the things that I, I talk a lot about my family because we all kind of come from our families, and this is a discussion that we've been having a lot around my dinner table, if you will, because of the fact that our family has dealt with our share of diseases, and I too have been diagnosed and was diagnosed long ago, back in 1997, with an autoimmune issue. Back in the day when that was still kind of, and I had to go somewhere special for that. And I did go to legitimate doctors, and because there were so many issues that I was having, and I had to take care of it. Well, okay, fast forward to today. A while ago, a couple of years ago, my daughter and her family, they decided that they were going to jump ship from traditional, if you will, grocery stores and start learning how to eat clean, right? And then there were others in the family that said, "Oh no, we're not doing that. I'm not giving this up. I'm not doing that." Well, it's been a very interesting process because there for a while we were all under the same roof. And so, we had little category areas where, okay, this was the clean food, this was the very not clean food, and here was the in-between kind of maybe food. Right. And so I got kind of used to the fact that because I did a lot of shopping back then. And so I would start doing the shopping for some of the different ones. And I can say that, like, when I know I'm going to be having, because my daughter and her family now moved out, got their own place. And when I know I'm going to have my grandsons, I know without a shadow of a doubt, nothing goes into their mouth that would be in the one category, right? Mm-hmm. And so if I get a heads up, then I go to the grocery store. And the thing is, I've noticed that if it's a quick turnaround, they're going to be here soon, I can now go to my local grocery store because they are giving offerings.
Right.
They are giving offerings that qualify. And they didn't a while ago.
Right.
And so I'm just saying to you guys out there that the power of the purse really can be a lot of where we don't have to feel so bad about our next generations. We can actually have a lot to do with empowering the companies to make some good choices for us and saying, you know what, the jig is up, guys. The jig is up. You've made a lot of money on us, and we're not going to go for that anymore. And the thing I noticed it too, because then I started looking at family pictures, because I'm the family genealogist and I do a lot of family scanning of photos. I started noticing, and then I had some clothing from way back in the day, and I started noticing that they ate a lot of food and they had extremely small waists and they were maybe not as tall, Tallness was an issue. They were shorter, but they were all trim, no fat, no
That's because they weren't eating
weight
chemicals.
issues. Exactly. And they were eating real food. And you look at their tables and it's like, man, and so the good news here, Sharon, and everybody listening, is we laid out a really strong case right now, and you've been out there laying out a strong case that people need to wake up and take notice. But in waking up, we can make a difference.
Yeah, we can.
And it doesn't have to be overwhelming. I want to say that you started, going into the bad things, on the list and everything, and then you were like, and there's simple solutions for certain things. And one of them,
deprived eating this way. People ask us all the time, aren't we deprived? And frankly, we were deprived when we weren't eating this way because we didn't feel good. We didn't just always go into ourselves to realize how bad we were feeling. Now that we feel good, which is why I named my book, It Feels Good to Feel Good. Now that we feel good, wow, we are not deprived. And it doesn't mean you don't ever get treats. You just get a different kind of treat. I bake for special occasions. I use almond flour. I use soy-free chocolate chips. I use coconut sugar, which is a low glycemic sugar. It doesn't mean that we don't get treats. It just means we don't eat crud. And it's a huge difference. And I want to go back to that one thing you put up about disease runs in families because eating habits run in families. The new thinking is that just because you get a certain predisposition in your genetics does not mean that you have to get that disease. The 95% of that disease is determined by the health of your microbiome. So if your microbiome, which is your gut, it's what you're putting into your gut. If you're putting organic food that's locally grown, preferably of all the colors of the rainbow, and that's your key thing that you're eating, you are turning off the light switch to get that disease that you inherited the predisposition for. Now, that's an astonishing thing. So you determine your fate. Now, if you already have something, it's not that easy. But it will certainly help you if you have cancer to eat organic and get rid of all of the chemicals in your life over 5 years or however long it takes you. That gives you a stronger footing for your body to keep trying to heal you. And little things like cancer feeds on sugar. So you should not be eating very much sugar because that just makes cancer delighted. And cancer grows in an acidic environment. What's alkaline? Vegetables. So the more vegetables you eat, the better you are at fighting off the cancer from coming back. It's all kind of logical when you understand it. But it comes back down to we don't eat real food anymore. I did a 6-part series that is now on video called Food Quality Matters. And I went through each category of food and talked about where the chemicals were and what the solutions were and why organic costs what it costs, which is fascinating unto itself, and even what GMOs are. We in California ran something on the ballot. I didn't understand it. And there's so much misinformation out there about what GMOs are because what they are is not what they talk about. What they are is either Bt toxin being bred right into the plant. And Bt toxin is something that when the insect eats the plant, it blows its little stomach up. Okay, that sounds ducky. You don't have to, you don't get it eaten by the bug, but it's killing our bees and our butterflies. So we're killing off our pollinators. No pollinators, no food. And when it gets into our gut, it kills our good gut bacteria because those are bugs too. And to make it even worse, once Bt toxin gets in your stomach, it's the gift that keeps on giving because it propagates. So it's madly making more Bt toxin, which is going into our bodies and making us sick. Now, that's one kind of GMO. The other kind of GMO is where they're making the vegetable or the fruit Roundup ready. And if you've been paying attention to the news, 2 or 3 months ago, a landmark suit finally got won by a guy who got lymphoma, where he hired high-powered attorneys, and they finally got Monsanto's records that they've known for 20 years that Roundup creates cancer and is putting chemicals into our body that's creating a lot of our disease. And he won. He's not going to live long enough to get the $280 million that he won. So he settled for $80 million so that he knows he can take care of his family before he dies. So it's sad. But since that landmark case, there are now 9,000 lawsuits against Monsanto. So if you see something that's GMO, and almost all processed food has genetically modified things in it, you don't want to eat it, because all of those herbicides and pesticides are poisoning you, and you don't need them in your body.
No. And the good news here, again, first of all, the good news is that you are out here telling people, and thank you for that. Thank you for, shouting it from the mountaintops and saying, okay, wake up. We need to do something about this so that we can turn it around for the children, so we can turn it around for ourselves, so that we can change the genetic, what's happening with any kind of genetic predisposition, and say, okay, no, I may have been given this, but it doesn't mean it has to happen to me because of choices that I'm making, good choices. And the reason I love this one image that I found on your stuff with the sugar, because one of the things also, when your body is getting all these chemicals, your body is craving the wrong things. And so then your body thinks it's hungry. It thinks it wants sugar. It thinks it wants salt. It wants this. It wants that. But that's all an illusion.
Off the regulator for your appetite. So I used to eat a whole Thanksgiving dinner and be going, I want more food. I want more food. How could I be hungry? I just ate this huge dinner, because the Gearlin and the whatever the other one is, it turns off so that you're addicted. Your body is saying more, 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 and your body isn't acting correctly because you have turned off the natural regulators that your body has to correct that. Right. Sugar is one of the most toxic things we do in our diet, and fake sugars are as bad or worse. So you don't have a problem with willpower if you have a weight problem. You have a problem with sugar, because once you do it, I'm starting a detox on Wednesday. I have 12 people in my class. Once we come out the other end of that, and it takes 3 to 4 weeks, you don't crave food anymore. You don't crave sugar anymore. The difference in terms of the freedom to make different food choices is unbelievable. That cookie no longer has my name on it, and it's not screaming, Cheryl, come eat me. You get freedom from that. It doesn't control my life anymore. And over the last 4 years, both John and I have allowed little bits of sugar to come into our diet. So we're going to do the sugar detox while everybody else does it with me, because I don't want to have that cookie calling my name. Enough already. Whether it's even a healthy cookie or not, I don't want it calling my name.
So I found this, that what is your word for 2019? I thought that was a great question. And yours is change. And you're making that change, aren't you?
I am. My new favorite word is choose. I choose to be healthy. I choose not to let barriers stop me. I choose to find a way up and over them. I choose not to listen to someone who's a who said of the greatest magnitude, like my conventional doctor. I choose not to believe that I can't get well. I choose that I have the power over my own life and my own body. And so really, that's my word for 2019. But wow, I love it. I've been through a lot of change. And I hope I continue to change. At 70, I don't ever want to stop changing.
No. And the odds, and you know, the thing, I'm thrilled that we're talking about this, and I'm thrilled that, and thank you again that you're so open and honest about your age, because you know what, the bottom line is this, is that a long time ago, I remember being in some events and some conferences where they were saying that, you know, talking about what was going to happen with the internet and computers and such. And this was well before we even had fax machines. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, right. And Yet now, what do we do? What am I doing right now? We have a show on streaming media on social, on Facebook. Okay, they were completely there. They were completely on. You spot on. I've also been in seminars and such that they're saying that at a certain those people born in this year on have a real likelihood of making it over 100 years old. And you look at the history, again, being a genealogy nut, you look at, back in the day, long ago, 35 was, older. They 65 because they thought no one would live past 65. There's a lot of
security they thought could last forever. Nobody lived that long.
Exactly. Those were not by mistake, guys. It wasn't just that, oh yeah, you'll be able to retire and have a nice long life. No, they didn't expect you to get there. So, I mean, that's the bottom line. You start doing any kind of historical checking into things and it's like, okay. So for us to be good stewards of these bodies that we have, that most likely it's not only just, I mean, there's a lot to be said about our financial health, and a lot of people concentrate about that right now. Yes, but we need to also be thinking, okay, our health, meaning our bodies, our minds, our and all that goes with it, and that we can actually do something to help possibly even reverse some of what we've done to ourselves so that we can feel better. And you said something in one of the, either I read it or I heard it on one of your podcasts, but you said that you're feeling better now, or maybe you said it today in here, but you're feeling better now than you felt in your 50s, right?
That is my husband. The biggest thing to recommend, what I think you should do for your bodies in terms of eating real food and getting rid of the chemicals, is that your body will vote yes. Because it really does feel good to feel good. And I have a blog on my website that there are 20 hidden signs that you're not as healthy as you think you are. Because I believe we're running around not feeling good, but we don't touch in with ourselves and recognize it. We just plow through it because we're all so busy. And if you actually stop and ask your body will say, hey, wait a minute. I wake up with fatigue. I need 2 or 3 cups of coffee before I can get started. I look in the mirror and I'm all puffy. There's all kinds of signs of inflammation that you probably are ignoring, and they are the precursor of you getting sick. So if you let your body vote when you start eating clean, you'll do it forever because you don't want to go back there.
Yeah.
So am I deprived doing this? Heck no. I feel fantastic, and it's worth every single bite. And it's worth having gotten rid of all the plastic water bottles. And it's worth getting rid of my Teflon pan, which I really didn't want to give up until I learned that there's no birds over the DuPont factory that makes the Teflon, because that stuff is in the air and it's killing them all. And yes, I now store my food in glass. I mean, there's all kinds of little shifts that have just taken 5 years to create, but I feel better with every toxin I eliminate from my body.
So the place to start, you said, and I really loved, I want to cover a couple more things before we wrap up. You said one thing was that, you have to replace whatever item is toxic anyway. You're going to use it up one way or another. You may go buy the same thing, bring toxin back in, or you may replace it with something that is not toxic. And one of the
in my book, I tell you not only what I found was toxic, but I tell you what I replaced it with. It may not be the perfect choice for you, but it's a place to start.
And one of the things that I keyed into of some of the stuff you were talking about was, you were talking about the stomach, and if you have like acid or heartburn or something like this, and there was one of them, and then it was like you could replace the toxic with water and baking soda, correct?
Yeah, is that astonishing? Yep.
And I'm thinking,
and believe it or not, it's not because you have too much acid in your stomach, it's because you have too little. So the medication they're giving you is exasperating the problem.
Right.
All medications have a positive side and a negative side. They give and they take us away. So it's good to learn what all these pills are doing to you. There's a book called Drug Muggers for pharmaceuticals that will tell, like I'm on metformin because I'm diabetic. So it tells me that I need to take more vitamin C and magnesium because metformin is pulling those out of my body. They all give and they take us away. But a conventional doctor will tell you there's no downside to metformin, and that's not true.
So if someone wants to follow you, I have your blog here, and you have so much, I mean, there's so much information, guys. We didn't even cover hardly anything compared to what it is. But I do want to bring one thing up that I thought, oh, I am so motivated that I'm actually going to pull it out and get it out. And that was, you talked about that you are doing some exercising and you're doing it on a trampoline, a little trampoline, right?
Yeah, I call it my mini trampoline. It's a rebounder. One of my chapters is on, I do a whole chapter on the body, and one of my chapters is on toxic lack of movement. I don't like to exercise. I will never like to exercise, but I bought a rebounder, which is a little mini trampoline.
I have one. Yeah.
I tape country western music. Never was a big country western fan, but VH1 doesn't have videos anymore. So I tape the top 20 every Sunday, and I get on it, and you don't even have to jump very high if you just jiggle on it. What it does is it gives a motor to your lymph system, which is going into your body and going around all your cells and cleaning out the garbage. And so by doing whatever you're doing on your rebounder, it's making that flow and getting all of those toxins to run out of your body. So it's a fantastic, I feel good. I get a little bit of my heartbeat going. I do a little bit of resistance sometimes while I'm jumping on it and then you do stretching and you're covered. You want to stay flexible as you get older. You want to make sure that your muscles stay strong, and you want to clean this garbage out of your body. So it's a fun way to exercise.
You said something on one of the things, and you said like sludge, and I'm like, okay, you got me. You know, it's like, okay, I can totally get that. I've got one, and I used to be so good at it, and I put it away, and you know, it's just like anything, when you out of sight, out of mind. Right. And I thought, okay, that's my big take home, along with a lot of other things that is like, okay, I got so many. So I want to thank you for visiting with us today. I want to also ask you, I'm going to be here soon. I'll be announcing it very shortly, but that we're going to start having a show over in the Chemo Buddies area that will be really focused in on healthy choices and a little bit more information in regards to all of this stuff. So I'd love to be able to have you back and address that audience. We were talking about it before we went live, that you had some updated information that you were going to kind of on one of your sheets. And so maybe by the time
my local hospital for cancer survivors a couple of times. So I did a lot of research on how what I know about autoimmune is important to you with cancer. So yes. I've got a sheet of the top 12 things you can do to support your body through cancer recovery.
Now, is that something
you've been attacked by the cancer, and so you can't afford to be attacked by the chemicals. They got to go.
Right. Exactly. So is that something that we would be able to maybe put in the comments area that they could
Absolutely.
get rid of? And, you know, because I have a lot of the buddies that stop in, and they're constantly trying to get, because there's no time like today when you're dealing with it. And anything we can do to make our bodies healthier, that we can do, that our doctors will let us, because when you're under treatment, you have to have everything. And if you don't know this, guys, you have to go, even if it's, you think, oh, this is a very minor thing and it's just a spice or it's this or that, you still need to have that. You need to go, whoever's your treating physician, whatever treatment you've decided to go with, you need to have it, go in there and make sure it's not going to be counteractive to whatever treatment plan you currently are under. And so, but I'd love to be able to share that. And in fact, Sherry's like, yes, thank you.
You run it past your doctor.
Yes, yes. And she's actually, that's one of the reasons that she's just such a conscientious senior ambassador, because she's one of the ones that actually from the rooftops is telling everybody, okay, this is a really great idea. I think, however, you need to go talk to your doctor about that. And so she's constantly there, and so that we can be responsible with our community. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sharon.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Sharon, for everything you do. I don't know what our community would do. And I just talked to someone new, another one that has come up that wants to really start engaging. We've got so many of them are coming up and saying, yes, I want to volunteer. I want to be an ambassador. I want to do these things. And anybody that is currently watching, I'm going to start getting, I didn't start out like this, but at least I'm going to end it. If you're watching this live, please put #live. If you're watching it in a replay, please put #replay, because I want to start seeing and tracking, and so that I can see which shows and which communities are, because I know that we've got the buddies, but we've got some others that are following us too. So I want to see who's interested in what, and so that we can keep getting some information out there that is really making a difference in your lives. And let us know that. Like to be able to. It's just like with Dr. Marlena, nominating you, Cheryl. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Dr. Marlena. You are right on, spot on.
Getting this information out. This is what I live for now. This is where my passion is. So,
well,
thank you.
You just get healthier and healthier so you can be living a long, long life, and you can be making such a huge difference for us that are currently, in the thrill of it, and then also for these next generations that are to come, because the bottom line here that I want to share is that in total disclosure, my daughter back in the day, she had the worst eating habits, she would tell you. And now her children, so this is only one generation, my daughter's children, my grandchildren, they know the difference, and they know how to make good choices, and so it doesn't have to take long for things completely turn around, and for us to be able to get our children and our grandchildren healthy and give them an opportunity to be living those amazing years free of disease.
And let's take them, Army, if they get amongst their little friends and go, no, we don't eat that way, and this is why, they can start that at a very young age and have an impact on the health of their buddies as they're having an impact on their own life.
So now you have 2 books. Just want to make sure that we have it out there. You've got
I actually only have the one, but I did a podcast with someone in India, and he did a chapter of me in his book.
Okay. So
people in
this book has a chapter about you, and then your book is It feels good to feel good. I love that. It feels good to feel good. And that's what we all want in our lives. So thank you for being here. Thank you for agreeing to come back and
if they go to my website, there is so much free information there for them, which is CherylMHealthMuse.com. There's a whole tab for free stuff. And there's an hour class on toxins, an introduction to toxins that's free. It's Feel Great Now. Everybody should listen to that because it's pretty mind-boggling. I pretend that I'm Wonder Woman because I tell you where the biggest deceptions are and where the worst poisons are, because that's who she fought. She fought the Duke of Deception and Dr. Poison. So it's dry material, but I try to make it fun, and you need to know it.
You know what? Thank you for that. And just that's why I put this up. The blog, yes, but it's Cheryl M. Health. It's HealthMuse.
Yeah.
.com, right?
I want to inspire you to live healthy. So I'm a muse.
Yes. I love it. Well, you're inspiring me. I'm already getting my trampoline out and finding a permanent place for it. No longer will it be the garage. And anybody that wants to hold me to it, ask me how I'm doing in a week, and I'll let you know, because you know what? That's what this is all about, is accountability. You know, if we really want to make a difference in our lives, you know, Cheryl, thank you for going out there and shouting it out. And then it takes a community, because that was one of the things that you also talked on your on that one of the podcasts that I listened about to, that one of the best things that we can do for ourselves also to be healthy is to be a part of a community.
Yeah, building supportive people to what you're doing. It's critical.
Exactly. It's critical. Job one, we are doing that. We have a community with Chemo Buddies for Life. It's a community of, and it's a number of buddies and service heroes. You know, we're creating a community here of people, like-minded people that are out there doing good for humanity in business and causes so many things. And if we just work together, guys, we all have a service hero inside of us. Let's bring that service hero out. Let's not hide that service hero any longer, and let's help each other to feel good.
Yeah, because trust me, when you start feeling good, you want to keep feeling good. It really does work.
I love it. Okay, so as we close day number 177 of 365 days of awesome, celebrate success through service, I just want to take my hat off to you, Cheryl, and say thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for going back to school at 67 and believing that you can make a difference, because by golly gee willikers, you are making a difference.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. Go out there and eat right. Eat real food.
There you go. There you go. Go out there and eat some real food. You just might like it. All right. See you later, and I'll see everybody else tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.